If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been with us for a while, welcome back. And a quick thank you to our near 800 new subscribers. It genuinely means so much to have you here as this channel grows. When we last left the story, Taylor had reached a decisive crossroads, the moment she chose to reclaim her life's work on her own terms. It was a choice that sent ripples through the entire music industry, reshaping conversation far beyond her own catalog. It created a rare pause between chapters, a breath filled with uncertainty, possibility, and unfinished business. And today, we return to the story exactly where that tension left us. Because part 2 isn't just a continuation, it's a moment where everything she fought for comes into focus. This is where the re-recordings take shape, where the eras she rebuilt find their voices again, and where the story becomes something bigger than a career timeline. Today, we step into the aftermath of that decision and into the era that brought all those chapters together on the biggest stage she's ever stood on. Welcome to the first episode of Season 2, Episode 11. This is Taylor Swift, Part 2, for beginners. For beginners. That decision to re-record her entire catalog wasn't about nostalgia, it was about control. About taking back the narrative, the music, and the power that had slipped out of her hands. And once that choice was made, there was no pause, no victory lap. She got to work, quietly, deliberately, rebuilding her past piece by piece, not as it once was, but as it now belonged to her. What followed wasn't just a business move or a symbolic protest. It was a full-scale creative reset, one that reshaped how artists think about ownership and how fans participate in protecting the music they love. It's a reminder that she wasn't the first artist to fight for control, but she was the first to do it on this scale, in public and in real time. Like Prince before her, she understood that ownership isn't just about business, it's about identity. And if you're watching this episode without having seen our Prince episode yet, episode 8 of For Beginners dives deeper into that fight. It's worth checking out. Re-recording an entire catalog sounds simple on paper. Just go back into the studio and play the songs again. But in reality, it's one of the most complicated and risky moves an artist can make. For most musicians, the originals are untouchable. They're legally locked, emotionally fixed in time, and often impossible to recreate without sounding forced or hollow. But Taylor Swift was interested in outgrowing the past and not trying to recreate it. A common question around these re-recordings is, how could she just re-record and re-release everything? Wasn't she under contract with Big Machine? And how did this happen without endless legal battles? Here's the key. Taylor never lost ownership of the songs themselves. As a songwriter and a co-writer, she always owned the lyrics and the melodies. What she didn't own were the original sound recordings, the specific performances released to the world. And once the re-recording restrictions in her contract expired, she was legally allowed to create brand new versions that she would fully own. Those new recordings weren't loopholes or substitutes, they were brand new assets. Same lyrics, same melodies, but for the first time, the ownership was hers. And because she wasn't racing the clock anymore, she didn't rush them. Each re-recording was treated like its own moment, delivered with clarity instead of urgency, confidence instead of pressure. That's where the plan really worked. Songs like Blank Space and Shake It Off weren't just re-recorded, they were reclaimed. Fans didn't just listen, they chose Taylor's version. They bought it, they streamed it, they intentionally shifted the value away from the originals. What began as a personal fight became a shared project. Artist and audience, proving that ownership can be exercised and not just theoretical. By the time multiple re-recorded albums were out in the world, the message was very clear. This wasn't a workaround, it was a blueprint. As the re-recordings rolled out, the story started to shift. This wasn't just about revisiting old albums, it was about taking stock of an entire career. For the first time, Taylor was publicly moving through every era of her catalog at once. Not nostalgically, but deliberately, choosing what to emphasize, what to reclaim, and how each chapter fit into the bigger picture. The idea of eras stopped being a fan concept and became a creative framework. Each album wasn't just a moment in time, it was a distinct world with its own voice, visuals, and emotional center. And when the re-recordings of the vault tracks began to live side by side, something became clear. This wasn't leading towards a single album cycle, it was building towards the full scope of her discography. So when Taylor announced in 2022 a tour that would pull from every era, and not just the latest release of her Midnights album, it didn't feel like a surprise. It felt inevitable. The Eras Tour doesn't open like a concert. It opens like a statement. 3 hours, dozens of songs, and a stage built to move through time. This was in no way a greatest hits set. It was a full career retrospective, performed at stadium scale. Each era arrived with its own color palette, its own choreography, and its own emotional temperature. One moment you're in glitter and joy, and the next you're in isolation and reflection. Then suddenly you're back in defiance and release. What made it different wasn't just the length or the production, it was the intention. Taylor wasn't just promoting a new album, she was presenting her entire body of work as a single story. Songs written years apart were now sharing the same stage, the same audience, and the same moment. Past and present, coexisting, not competing. Once the tour began, the response was immediate and overwhelming. Tickets vanished in minutes. Cities filled up. Entire weekends started revolving around a single show. People traveled across states, across countries, just to be in the room. The demand wasn't something that you could cap or contain, so in return, the tour kept expanding. More dates, more cities, more nights. Not because it was planned that way, but because it had to. What was originally conceived as a tour became an ongoing event, stretching across 5 continents, more than 20 countries, over 50 cities, and nearly 150 stadium shows, with over 10 million people showing up in person. By the time the Eras tour had wrapped, it had grossed more than $2 billion, making it the highest grossing tour in music history. But the numbers only tell part of the story. Because at its core, the Eras tour wasn't just a celebration of success. It was the moment an artist stood in the middle of everything she'd built, every era, every reinvention, every fight for control, and she shared it on her own terms. That is badass. It wasn't just a tour, it was ownership, performed. When you zoom out, what makes this moment matter isn't just the scale of the tour or the success of the re-recordings. For the industry, it shifted a long-lasting conversation about ownership and leverage. For younger artists, it offered a real-world example of what fighting for your work can actually look like. And for fans, it reframed their role entirely. Listening became support, choice became power, and showing up became part of the story. Taylor didn't just reclaim her catalog, she demonstrated what can happen when an artist understands the value of their work and an audience chooses to stand with them. That's why this moment didn't end when the lights went down. It changed the conversation. If you're brand new to this era of Taylor Swift and you're wondering where to jump in, you don't have to tackle everything at once. A great place to start is 1989, Taylor's version. It's the clearest example of how familiar songs can feel brand new every single time. For a vault track, look for one that surprises you. My personal recommendation is Are You Ready For It from Reputation. It's the one that I use for all of my TikTok shorts. Something that makes you rethink an era you thought you already understood. And if you want to experience the full scope of it all, the Eras tour is the best snapshot of her entire career. Not as separate chapters, but as one continuous story. And if you want to go even deeper, there are several documentaries available on Disney Plus, available right now, including Taylor Swift, The End of an Era, Taylor Swift, The Eras Tour, The Final Show, and Folklore, The Long Pond Studio Sessions. You don't need to know everything all at once, just start somewhere and let the eras guide you. Well, my friends, that is Taylor Swift Part 2 for beginners. This chapter of her story wasn't about reclaiming her past, it was about redefining the future. Ownership became action, action became community, and community showed up night after night to turn her career into a living, moving story. Before we wrap up, I just want to say a quick thank you and hello to all of our new viewers and subscribers who joined the channel recently. I'm really glad you're here. And a real quick shout out to Sharif from Fiverr, not a sponsor, but he's just doing really great work, and thank you for the opening theme and all the additional graphics. And a quick shout out to my dear friend Brent Bobbitt, who has been helping me with lighting design and set design for season 2 moving forward. I physically cannot do this without you. I'm really excited about the season 2 lineup. I'm going to be posting a video soon about talking about all the different artists that we're going to be covering later in the season, and I really hope that you stay tuned, and I'm excited for what's going to be happening this season. As for the next episode, we're going to rewind the clock and step into the story of an artist whose influence reshaped pop music long before the modern music industry even existed. Next time on For Beginners, we're going to cover Michael Jackson. Thanks for coming along on this journey with me. We'll see you next time.